So I said here on my channel not that long ago, basically I think around the start of when Triple H started to really kind of cook a little bit with his creative juices, now that he was in charge of creative, I said, you got to give it time. You gotta let it simmer a little bit. It's like what we were getting in small doses here and there was just the appetizer of what, was to come. Even when Vince snuck his way in and had say here and there, most of the time it was under Triple. Most of the time, the decisions I should say were under Triple H. Even though Vince would have a say here and there, under those little moments that Triple H would have total control himself, basically, we kind of got a glimpse of, what he had in store for us. And lo and behold, it's taken a while, but over the past several months, we have had several SmackDowns and Raws. Some have been misses, some have been in between, some have been hits. But in between these Raw and SmackDowns, we've been getting pretty much, a full idea, a full taste, if you will, of what Triple H had in store for us. And recently, we've been kind of getting more doses of that over time. And last night, a lot of people felt that Raw was the best Raw after SummerSlam in a long time, if not throughout the entire year. Now, we've had some decent Raws, some memorable Raws that have, been before, in between, and after PLEs, aka pay-per-views. And everybody has praised them for, the creativeness, that they've, unleashed, the storytelling that they've, focused on and, put the spotlight on, throughout. And it's not just Raw, but also SmackDown. And like I said, excuse me, excuse me, like I said, you have to give, um, you have to give the man time. You have to give this man and his team time to, really just, you know, work their magic, if you will. Come up with the perfect recipe, if you will. Put the right ingredients where they need to be. And they did that. Or they've been doing that. And tonight, or last night, I should say, was a good example of that. Last night on Raw was a good example of putting all the right ingredients and all the right pieces where they needed to be. Because people have to remember, they are trying to fix what was damaged for so many years. I mean, it. I mean, when you take over something from somebody else, when you take over something from somebody else, you don't automatically see a fix overnight or within the span of the first week of the new person taking, control and everything. You don't see something, suddenly change and all that, instantly. It takes time. It takes time for things to, change, for things to be, smoothed out, a lot of the kinks to be worked out, a lot of the, remaining story arcs of the, if you call them story arcs, to be finished off before you can move forward. A good example of that for me, being a fan of the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book, is when Ian Flynn took over for Ken Penders and Carl Bowlers. Ian basically took the first several issues he was working on and basically used those 10 or plus first issues he was on to clean up the mess that Ken had left behind. He was cleaning house. He was basically moving things around, throwing this out, putting this on the shelf indefinitely, and things like that, to make room for things that would make more sense from a storytelling perspective. And even though it took 10 to 15 to 20 issues, he eventually cleaned enough to where he was able to basically almost 2 years later find his own footing and go from there. I mean, he started, believe it or not, with 160. He started with issue 160, and from 160 to about, I would say, issue 200, he was basically cleaning up a lot of what Ken Penders and to an extent Carl Bowlers had left behind. He was doing what he could to clean that mess and give folks something more smoother, more seamless, more transitional, in a way to where even if you were new to the book at that time, you wouldn't have to pick up an issue and ask questions of like, what's this and what's that. You'd be able to fall into that book, into that story right away. He basically wanted to make the that transition from let's say playing the games to reading the comics based on the games seamlessly, seamless, if you will. And that's what he did. That's what he did. And but here's the thing, as I was saying, it took time. It took a lot of time for him to do that, due to the fact that he had to clean up a lot of the loose ends that were left behind. And the same goes with what Triple H and his crew is doing right now in WWE. Yeah, we're starting to see the fruits of their labor. We're starting to see the masterpieces, the full course meals coming into being, if you will, due to them working their butts off to fix certain situations here and there that were left behind by the old administration, by the old regime, by Vince McMahon and his team themselves. They're doing what they can, and even now as we speak, to pretty much give people a smooth transition into what they see in WWE. So even if they're new to WWE and they want to see what all the hubbub's about, they could just tune into a Raw or a SmackDown, and maybe to an extent an NXT, and watch it and not get lost. They'll pretty much be brought up to speed with what's going on, and by being brought up to speed with what's going on, be able to kind of be able to figure out, oh, okay, this is what's happening, without being confused. Because that's what a creative team is supposed to do. It's supposed to ease you into whatever story you might be new to without being confused, and that's what they're doing. I mean, you look what's going on with the whole new Judgment Day versus the Terror Twins in Rhea and Damien, and even if you're new to the story, you kind of get a sense through the explanations and everything that was thrown at you, in a very non-confusing manner. You're able to figure out, oh, this has been going on for a long time. This, Finn Balor has been plotting this for so long, lives in on this, or was in on this, and da da da. So you kind of get that idea. You get that sense of, non-confusion, and the fact that you're able to pretty much seamlessly be eased in to the story itself. Same with the Bloodline over on SmackDown. You look at what's going on there. You see Roman coming back at SummerSlam. You're hearing what people are talking about as to why he did what he did to Solo, and it clicks on you. You go back and you look at the highlights on YouTube. You look at some of the episodes on demand on Peacock and on Fox, and you kind of and you start seeing, oh, I see exactly why Roman did what he did to his own cousin. So so you're put into a situation to where you're not confused. You're not like, okay, what's going on here? Why is this? Why are they doing this? What's this? What's that? Oh, I thought they were feuding, but now they're not. It's like you're not confused. You're not confused, and you're able to be eased into the situation, into what you're watching without an issue. And that's why a lot of people are praising last night's Raw, and why they probably will praise SmackDown this upcoming Friday, because of the fact that the storyline, the storytelling, the booking, the creative is a lot more seamless, and a lot more easy to understand and fall into than it was under the old regime. The only thing is that it took them time to get to this point. It took them time, just like I said, it took Ian Flynn time to get to his point in the Archie Sonic book. It took him time to find his footing, to get things, storyline wise, seamlessly non-confusing and questionable by the fans, and to a point that basically they could just ease in. They could just ease into the story without an issue, without a problem, without asking questions. And although it took him maybe 20 issues, 40 issues, or whatever, he was able to find his footing by issue 200, by the end of issue 200 and into 201, the Iron Dominion arc. He was able to do that. So it took him time, but he found it. Did he have hits and misses, here and there? Yeah, he did. He did have some hits, he did have some misses and all that. Same with Triple H and his crew. Have they been, perfect? No, they've had hits and they've had misses, and it's all because of basically working out all the kinks and trying to make things more seamlessly and more or less confusing than they were under the old regime. It just takes time and it takes patience. That's why a lot of people always say, let it play out, or, hey, be patient. It takes time. They're basically, finishing up what the old regime had left behind and stuff like that. That's why you hear people say that, because it's a fact. It's true. They're basically telling those that are like, oh, this don't make sense and all that. They're telling them, hey, it's going to make sense. Just give them time. They're, working off the old regime and whatever plans they had that were confusing to others. So when I see people praising last night's Raw and other Raws and SmackDown similar to it throughout this year, that shows me that what you're seeing is the end result, the end result of hard work paying off, and a lot of that creative starting to be more less confusing and more seamless to understand and fall into than it was under the old regime. You're starting to get an idea of, okay, why this is happening, or why this person did this, or you're getting an idea of why this person was put into this position, and da 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 da. You're getting a better idea, more of a less confusing idea. And Ian Flynn, pretty much, whether you like the guy or not, was in that same boat when he started, and it took him 20 to 40 issues, mostly, to get to that point where after issue 200, or even after issue 75 at the earliest, but mostly issue 200, he was able to finally put his foot down and carve his own path and make the stories more seamless, to more seamless, in the presentation, and easier, to understand in the long run. But yeah, you know, but yeah, it's like I said, in a video, about a year or so ago, a couple months ago, whatever. It takes time. You got to be patient. But when that moment happens, or those moments happen, you'll see the payoff. You'll see the payoff happen, and you'll be happy with it. You'll be happy with, the payoff with what you're given, and you'll understand. Oh, this is why it took so long to get to this point, because they were basically cleaning out, they were cleansing the company of that old regime stories and all that. So anyway, I told you, you just had to be patient, you just had to wait, and eventually you're going to get that full course meal. And guess what? You're starting to get it right now. You're getting that full course meal. You've been getting little tidbits of it, little tastes here and there, and now you're going to get the full course one, because now you see exactly what's going on. You see that maybe this version of the Judgment Day head up by Finn Balor may not be a very threatening Judgment Day. You look at the fact that with War Games and Survivor Series, that you pretty much have an idea of what the women's War Games match will be, because you have Team Rhea pretty much already lined up and Team Liv already lined up, for either just Raw only or a mixture of the two brands. But you have your two captains, if you will, for that War Game set up and ready to go. You have the potential setup for not one but two Hell in a Cell matches. A men's Hell in a Cell with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, and a women's with Liv and Rhea. You have that all set up and ready to go. You have a potential Extreme Rules match for Bad Blood, last man standing match, if you will, between Balor and Priest. Again, you have it set up to where Dominic may, be basically, the biggest, or be portrayed as the biggest piece of crap on the roster, because of the fact that you kind of got a hint of the idea that he, even though he sided with Liv and everything to be part of the new Judgment Day, he's gonna save his own skin and nobody else. He's gonna forget about her. It's gonna be like that old saying when a ship sinks, like women and children first. No, in this case, it's gonna be Dom first, everybody else last. He's being set up for that. So you're seeing all this happen. You're seeing that the New Judgment Day may not be as threatening as it was. You're seeing the setup again, little pieces here and there for the women's war games, the women held in the cell, and all that. It's all being integrated, and it's great. It's great. You could see it coming from a mile away. Just like, when I would go online and I would tell people about Ian Flynn when he, pretty much took over and he made some stories predictable, and I would pretty much call it out, and people would be like, hey, he called it, he knew it, he saw it, coming, a mile away. It's because it's being done in such a way. It's because they were done in such a way you get to see it, you could sense it, you could feel it was going to be that direction they were going to go in. And the same goes here. You're seeing the little tidbits here and there being put out there for the WWE for the rest of the year, going into the last Raw and SmackDown of the Fox and USA era, if you know what I mean. So yeah, you're seeing it all pieced together. You're seeing the setups all being done. And again, I told you, all you had to do was be patient. Myself and others, we told you all you had to do was be patient, and eventually you would get that full course meal. And now you're starting to be given that feast of a full course meal. And basically you got the first main part of it at SummerSlam. And as we head to Bash of Berlin, then Bad Blood, then Survivor Series, you're going to get the whole 9 yards of that full course meal. And all I'm going to say is you're going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy it thoroughly, munch after munch after munch, if you know what I mean. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that. Again, I told you patience is everything. And again, off to the races we go with this full course feast that we're going to be indulging in for the next couple of months. And already you see the pieces being put into place for certain matches. You can already see it. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment down below. Live chat in the premiere if you haven't already. Check out my Teespring store. Link will be in the description, as well as a link to where you can find my content elsewhere. Like the video, subscribe to it. And until next time, guys, I will talk to you all later. But let me know what your thoughts are. And what were your thoughts on the comparisons between the two things that I mentioned that I'm a fan of, when it came to basically saying, there are similarities, pretty much, to a T. Let me know. And until then, I am out.